Hey everybody, welcome to Game Day Dolls. I'm your girl Yaya, and we have in the house today Lady Lois. What's going on, lady? And we have that fabulous woman, Fifi, with that hat. The hat game is always so strong, so strong. All right, ladies, let's just get right into it. We have some fabulous topics for today for a doll chat. The first thing, though, first things first, let's talk about the doll of the week. You want to know who it is? This week's Doll of the Week is Renee Montgomery. Miss Montgomery played for the Atlanta Dream WNBA team. She is now, though, becoming the first former player to own a WNBA team. Congratulations, Miss Renee Montgomery. You are our Doll of the Week. Okay, you guys. So in AP News this past week, they did a study about esports where they found out that 90% of scholarships are going to men. Well, the only thing with that is 41% of gamers are women. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense as far as the balance there. So today we have the beautiful and intelligent Cecelia Towns, who go best by as the sporty Esquire. There it is. I think I love that. I love that so much. So she'll be on a little bit later on today. What do you think about the AP story? As far as well, I know you both have experience in equal not pay. So, what are some of your stories that you have?
Well, I can tell you in the bodybuilding community, because, that's where I've been for the last 16 years. Um, a lot of the professional athlete men, when they go to the Olympia, they make hundreds and thousands of dollars, where the women prizes is only maybe 25,000, $50,000. So that's a huge gap. And I mean, they're both putting in just as equal amount of work, to get to that level.
Yeah.
So I've seen that a lot in that community.
Hmm. What about you, Lois? I'm sure, as
Well,
far as football is concerned, you got a lot to say.
yeah, I mean, there are so many differences when you're thinking about women who play football and men who play football at a professional level. Obviously, the women don't have these multi-million-dollar contracts. They don't get paid to wake up in the morning and go work out and train to be the best of the best. What we do is up of working extra, an extra full-time job or taking care of our family. So there's a huge difference, which contributes to the areas of football, performance, and your mental capacity. All of that kind of plays into. We're growing, but we're not there yet, and it's important that stories like these are pronounced to see so that there can be change.
I can only imagine, in those two particular genres, for sure, in sports, how you may feel, going into that. For me, as someone who's watching you from the outside looking in, I just think that you have so much passion. Like they know that you're doing this from your heart, not just for the big bucks, but from your heart. It's kind of like college ball. Those kids are out there where they have a little bit more, to more stake into because they're thinking, oh, well, I'll get to, the big dollars, whatever. But you guys are doing it for the love of the sport. And that
Yeah,
is what I'm talking about, that we need to, celebrate women in sports more and eventually get the bigger dollars. I'm just saying.
absolutely.
Get paid what you do. Yeah.
Go.
All right, you ladies, are you ready for today's TikTok challenge main event?
Yes.
So for today's challenge, I'm excited about it and ready. How about you, Fifi?
I am super excited because I found this amazing guy named Derek Henry on TikTok. Y'all, just wait till you see this man and his skills.
Let's do it.
I'ma rise to the top, never will I fall, always will I fly. You can see it in my eyes, I'm a fighter, so I fight. The only thing that's left after it all goes wrong is right. Rebel against the dying of the light, and I will not go gentle into night. Find the path, find the journey, find the purpose. Making sure that all the pain I felt was worth it. I'ma stand up, I'ma stand up.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Impressive.
Yes.
Do anybody
That's
know if he's
work.
single? I'm just asking. Poor friend.
Because he was showing us body. Yeah.
The
Don't know.
body. I'm not mad at that at all.
He's working on it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's nice. That's cute. That's real, real cute. But
how are we going to top that?
How are we gonna top that? We're gonna top that. Watch this.
Oh my goodness.
Adorable.
So Derrick Henry came to work, but Little Miss showed up.
Yes, she did.
She showed
Wow.
up. She showed up like my
she
nails.
did.
She did that, right? I kind of cheated, but that's okay. That's okay.
Oh my goodness.
So let's see what everyone else feels, right? This is where it comes down to. Dun, dun, dun. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay, so what happened? What happened?
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Wow. Congratulations, Team Yaya! By a long shot. Wow.
I see you over there. It was definitely, you know what? I'm gonna give you that one because that was well deserved.
It was. It was. I have
was.
to agree. Yes.
Team Yaya. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll pay you later. No, a little bit though. She was doing her thing though, right?
She was. Yes, she was.
I'd love to see it.
All right, you guys, we're back. Thank you so much for being with us today. We have a very special guest this time. We have the lovely Cecelia Towns. Hi, Miss Cecelia. How are you?
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Thank you so much for taking the time out and bringing your great energy to this format.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, where are you located these days?
I am currently in Harlem, New York.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Moved here in April in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah.
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 Love Harlem. My best friend is there. Love me
Nice.
some Harlem. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So, everyone, if you don't know this, and you should know because she's very popular on Instagram for sure. That's how I found her. She goes as Sporty Esquire, which I love that name. How did you go with
Thank you.
the name?
I was already practicing law, and I knew that, okay, if I'm going to have a social media presence, I want it to be kind of a reflection of my personality, but also my career. So I was just like, all right, I'll be the Sporty Esquire.
Love it. I love it.
It's just literally that simple.
Yeah. So, Ms. Towns, can you tell us a little bit about how did you become who you are today? How did you get in the world of sports?
Oh, I would say I got in the world of sports initially from my dad. He was a tennis player, played in college. His dad taught him tennis. And so his goal was to make sure his kids had a way to go to school for free. And he knew that, okay, I can give them tennis scholarships if I have them playing tennis early. And so that was really the first sport that I was introduced to. But I grew up as a tomboy. So I was like always playing football with my brothers, and I played soccer for years. I ran track. But still, I ended up playing tennis all through college. So I would say it's been there. Some of my earliest memories have to do with sports.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, what college did you go to?
I went to Howard University. Yes.
Don't they call it the real HU?
That's exactly what they call it, for great reason.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So earlier in Doll Chat, we actually talked about Master P. Master P is wanting to own HBCU school. Yeah. So what are your thoughts to that?
I heard y'all talking about that. And listen, I am supportive of Black ownership. I am supportive of Master P. Like, he's a big deal. But, I take HBCUs and the experience that our institutions provide for our school and the greater society very seriously. So, I just feel like if that's something that he's going to do, I do not think that he should enter it with an entrepreneurial spirit. It's bigger than making money, right? A lot of our institutions are, in fact, not making money. But that doesn't mean that they don't still serve a purpose, right? So I think, if he gets into it with the right team of people, with the right set of principles, it could be something that's successful. But HBCUs have a rich legacy in our country and in our communities. And I would hate for anybody to hop into that, you know, just because we're what's popping right now, right? Like it's cool to invest in Black folks right now. And so I just would want to make sure that, that's not his only motivation for it and that he does it right.
Yes, I totally agree with that. You made an interesting point breaking it down about business because,
Yeah.
you can instantly have a corporation, LLC, and then say, for instance, it goes bankrupt. Then,
Yes.
okay, you're protected, but what about the
Right.
baby? What about the
Yes.
kids? What happens to it then at that point?
Yes.
So you're right. I think with a good plan, maybe.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I actually feel like I would hope that he would maybe buy one that's already like in need, that has maybe some of the institutional experience and just doesn't have the right funding behind it rather than start his own. But I can't tell that man how to spend his money.
I know, because I think Fifi, you brought up that he owns chips and he owns what else? What are the food related things he owns?
Yeah, he owns this potato chip line. I don't know if you go to any of the gas
Yep.
stations. He also just came out with his ramen noodle line. He has a publishing company that he published books. A lot of people don't even know that. So, and he owns the masters to his music. So Master P is really big on ownership.
Yeah.
And Cecelia, I really, hope that he goes in with really good intentions.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know. Okay, Cecelia. So I've been stalking your page, girl. I love you.
Oh, wait. You got to make sure you send me your IG because
I
I like
will.
to
I
stalk
will.
people too. So.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Okay.
I think you are
Oh,
amazing.
thank
I'm
you.
like, this chick is bad. I need to be in your room, in your
Oh,
space.
thank
And
you.
and I think you're super smart. And like, who inspired you?
I would probably say it's honestly like a long line of women in my family. And and now shout out to my dad and the men in my family too. Like, obviously, I love them. But it really, I would say, just growing up, seeing so many women in my family take ownership of their lives, right? They never lived in a way that people expected them to live. I have aunts that was like, I'm not getting married, I'm not having no kids, I'm still having a bomb life, right? And then I
Mhm.
have other women who are like, no, I'm the type that's gonna get married and have kids and stay at home with my kids. And I had, my mom who ended up, my parents got divorced and she was a single mom and a working mom. And so I think that is what inspired me, is seeing these women in my family be their authentic selves and still be like super successful and super impactful. So I think that's probably my like physical inspiration, like what I grew up seeing. And then I would say like my faith inspires me all the time, right? Because I feel like I'm here not just to accumulate things. I'm here not to just experience life for myself, but
Mhm.
for other people too, right? And so
Awesome.
I have to I feel, because of that, I feel compelled to be like giving back and giving in to other people.
Okay. All right.
So speaking of doing more, I love how much you're involved in women's sports and, talking about GladiatHer's and Play Like a Girl and all the organizations that you're involved with. At what point in your life did you decide that you had to do more for women's sports?
Um, I would say like I feel like I'm the type of person who's always doing more. Like, in school, I was always like, oh, well, let me run for this and let me be in this club and let me be in that club. So I think that part of doing more has always been there. But in particular for women in sports, it really came after I started practicing law, and actually I got my job because of a two amazing women. My first job because of two amazing women. And, but I was like, I felt like I was lacking because I was working for DC government and it had absolutely nothing to do with sports. And sports had been a part of my entire life. And so I said, well, you know, what can I do to get back in sports? And initially my thought was to like somehow work with professional athletes or somehow to work with student athletes. And those like attempts kind of fizzled out. They failed. They were bombs. But then it was just like this epiphany where I was like, well, what I feel like I'm missing is more coverage on women's sports. You know, I feel like we would get, this was like maybe 2012-ish, 2013. And I feel like we would constantly, we'd see the Olympics, obviously. We knew Serena was around. You know, we knew like pockets of things going on in women's sports, but we didn't get backstories. We didn't know about sexism and racism and like all of these other underpinnings, you know, eating disorders that women in sports, you know, were dealing with. And so I was like, well, I don't see it. I'm going to write about it. And I started writing Gladiators that way. And I kid you not, it was just me and my mama reading that blog. But I was like, I'm going to tell everybody, you know, share my thoughts. And we started growing and, you know, it just blossomed from there.
Amazing.
I tell people all the time who are like looking for ways to be in sports, right? To look for what they feel is lacking. I mean, I feel like, you know, Yaya, that's what you were explaining earlier is, you know, that's how you ended up here. You know, you felt like there was a lack of coverage for women and talking about sports in a way for women. I felt, you know, the same way. And so we create these things based on needs that we see. So everybody should do it.
Absolutely. That reminds me of, there's a quote that's, it's be the hero that you needed as a child.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So, yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. You speak about your writing. Is this something that you've always loved to do, like as a child? Because you don't see a lot of that now with the youth coming up because everything is so, you know, social media.
Yeah,
and
140
like that.
characters, right?
Yes.
I would say, yeah, I developed it early. And when by early, I mean probably middle school, I started realizing I liked to write. But in high school, I realized that was good. And I realized that was good because people used to pay me to write their papers.
Right. Okay.
And it was like other smart kids that would be like, oh, you know, write my paper for me. And I'd be like, okay, cool. And it was always super easy for me because it was something that I enjoyed doing. But I didn't think of it to be like a part of my career. You know, it was just something I liked doing. At that time, I felt like, oh, I think at that time I still wanted to be a doctor. You know, I hadn't sat in enough biology classes. And just, you know, writing, I had no desire to be a journalist or an author in that way. The internet wasn't what it is now. So I didn't have a concept of being able to write in a way that would impact my career, but also be something, you know, I like to do. I didn't think of it that way, but I loved it pretty early on.
Awesome. Well, I am super proud of you. When I saw that you were a contributor for Forbes, I'm like, this young lady is a big deal. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, let's go back to high school. Let's go back to the day that you graduated high school.
Okay.
What is something that you today what piece of advice or something that you would tell your younger self back then?
I would tell my younger self, like, it's okay to make mistakes. You know, I was definitely, and still, this is something I'm working on, is like not being a perfectionist. I'm super type A. And back then it was like hardcore. You know, I like things need to be right and they need to be done correctly, like in a certain way. And so I would probably try to tell myself that, you know, just relax. You can have a little more fun. You know, a 95 is just as good as 100, you know, and an 85, not bad either, sis. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice I'd give to my high school self, my younger self.
Nice. Just a little less pressure on yourself.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I think as women, I mean, we just do that too much. Like we try to make sure everything is on point, and it doesn't always have to be.
I hear that loud and clear. I think that's a very important message to a lot of young girls who are, you know, making their way, and, you know, to know that you can still do it, you know,
Yes.
even if you're not 100% and, you know, being that perfectionist, you can still get out there and do it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's like this statistic was that like men apply for a job if they have like 3 out of 6 of the qualifications, and women, we wait till we have like 6 out of 6. And it's crazy. Like, you know, they will get the job that they are technically underqualified for, and we won't even try. You know, we could have 5 out of 6. And so, yeah, we need to stop shooting for 100 when our competition is totally fine with 75s.
I totally understand that. I love what you said about it. I look at it as giving yourself grace. Give yourself
Yes.
grace.
Yes.
We always give it
Yes.
to other people, and that's, to
Yes.
me, is part of our own power. We give away our power by giving others grace, but we're not giving ourselves grace.
Yes.
Yes. That's spot on.
Mm. So, Ms. Towns, we got a question for you. So earlier we were talking about how AP have a study out for as the equal pay. So they found out that 90% of males are receiving scholarships in the esports gamer community, right? So, but only 41%, or I should say 41% of women are actually gamers. So how do you feel about equal pay? I know you write a lot about that in Forbes.
Yeah. So I am fully supportive of equal pay in like the world, right? Not just sports. And I think that part of our position that we're in now is obviously related to sexism, right? But I think especially at this point in the game, some of our inequities are because we don't properly ask or demand what we're due. You know, one of the things that we're doing, Lois, you mentioned gladiators, and one of the things that we do is we provide like guidance for like negotiating for yourself, because I think that that's a tool that men do almost without exception. You know, they know to go in and to negotiate their salaries. And so many of us, like, we're just so happy to have the seat at the table that we're not like checking to make sure, wait a minute, are you feeding me what you feeding everybody else? And so I think that in order to get our equal pay, yes, we have to, you know, demand that, but we also have to be willing to like demand it on a legal level, but we also have to demand it as individuals. Like when we go into these spaces, right? Do your research, find out what this role should be paying, find out what other people are getting paid, and like don't be afraid to negotiate for yourselves. I wrote a while ago, like in particular in the sports setting, was the US women's soccer team. You know, people went ham when they found out that they were making less than the men. And I mean, obviously it sucked. It was an outrage. But that was like a contract that the women negotiated years ago, right? And so if they should have put themselves in a better position to either renegotiate or demand more initially. And I'm not saying that that was the only factor. I think obviously sexism and the way women's sports are viewed are largely at play. But, you know, we should be willing to take ownership and say, all right, you know, if we walk into this space knowing these things about how they treat women, how can I advocate for myself and say, no, pay me more? Yeah.
Absolutely. I knew you would know. Totally agree with that.
Yes,
What she
absolutely.
said.
Powerful.
No,
I mean,
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it takes practice. Like, I feel like I'm saying it, but I'm like a labor and employment attorney, right? So I look at this stuff all the time, and I have practice negotiating for myself. But for the average woman who doesn't do this, who hasn't been taught to think this way, it takes
Mm-hmm.
practice.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, we just have to get us collectively, talk to our daughters, talk to our cousins, our nieces,
Yes.
our neighbors, and say, okay, girl, you about to get this new job, but have you done your research before you accept this new job, type thing.
Yes. Yes. It's definitely a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was in a male dominant industry for 20 years
Mm.
and I was offered a management position. And those male managers were making 250,000 a year. And they only offered me $75,000.
No way.
Yes. And this has been years. Oh my God, this has probably been over 15 years ago.
Wow.
But I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way I can take $75,000 and you guys are making 250,000. So I turned it down and I'm glad I did. And no one's ever talked to me about salary. I just
Mm-hmm.
knew that
Mm-hmm.
common sense that just didn't sound
Mm-hmm.
right to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
walked away from it.
And that right there is so powerful, being willing to walk away, right?
Yes.
And I think that's how so many people get caught up, because they feel like they don't have the option to walk
Yes.
away,
Mm-hmm.
And when you can do that, when you can say no, like, all the power is yours.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and also when you come into those positions that are not normally female positions, that are male dominated, you come into that position thinking, well, I got to take this,
That's right.
because this is what I'm here for. This is what I want to
That's
do.
right.
And you don't have that option in your mind. So that's so.
Yeah. And I think the ladies coming up now, like, who are younger than us, they have like this extra thing in social media that we didn't have, right? They can create their brand and their worth
Yes.
literally at home, right? Where we had to like sort of create our brand, like by going and working for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even got to do that. So they should really be ready to chuck the deuces and say, I don't need it.
Yes.
So, Cecelia, I love Gladiator. I love it. I love it. I love it. Can you tell us a little bit more about the organization?
Yes. So, like I was talking about earlier, Gladiator started as a blog. I just wanted to give a voice to women in sports. And essentially, I think it's grown organically. As I started writing for other publications, like larger publications, ESPN, I started coming in contact with more people, and I realized that these women want to meet each other, and not even want to meet, they need to meet each other. And so from there, we started having these mixers. I was in Atlanta at the time. We started having mixers, and those were like hugely successful. And people were literally telling us that, oh, I got a job because I met somebody at your event. And I was like, boom, like, we have to do more of these. And then younger ladies would come to me and they'd be like, well, I need a mentor. And I'd be like, well, I mean, I can't be mentoring everybody, but I know some other women who would be dope. So then we started a mentorship program. And then it's all happened based on, again, a need. Somebody said they needed something, and I felt like we could fill the gap for them. And so now we do the events, we have workshops geared at women in sports. So either if you're like a current athlete, either a student athlete or a professional athlete, if you work at a sports organization, we have workshops for you. We have a community called the GladiatHer's Tribe, which is where you find our mentorship program, where you get like really more hands-on tools about career development, where we network, where we talk. And then we have our events still. So we host this big event, this annual event, which COVID, stopped that this year, but called the Gladiator Summit, which brings together essentially like a lot of what we offer. So we'll have a keynote speaker, some workshops, and then a mixer. It's like a day-long event. And so, yeah, that all of what we do is designed to do three things: inspire, empower, and connect women in the sports industry. So I just feel like if it's not doing one of those three things, then we don't need to do it as an organization.
Love it, love it, love it. So it brings me to this question, which
Yes.
was not on anybody's paper at all. How can Game Day dolls be down with you?
Yes. Well, listen, I was already about to be like, who wants to be a mentor? We would love to have y'all be in the tribe. And after this, I'll make sure that I send you the link so that you can join us, because we think you're the perfect kind of women that we want to share your wealth of knowledge and to feed into our younger generation. And so, yeah, we would love to have Game Day dolls.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
You.
Off the cuff, what's your favorite meal?
I like to cook too.
Okay.
And I usually base what my favorite things on based on people's reactions to them. So I would say that it's one of my easiest things to cook, but thing that people die for is this lobster grilled cheese. And it's I promise you, it's the easiest thing to make, but the people go wild for it. Children, old folks, women, men, everybody loves the lobster grilled cheese. So I'll say that's my favorite because it's very easy, and people love it.
I love it. Listen, I've never even had it before, but I'm loving it already.
You have to make that being a chef. You have to.
Yeah. I'll send you the recipe. It's
okay.
Crazy easy.
I think we'll do that on the show as well too, and to send out a special shout out to Cecelia.
Yeah.
Just send me the grilled cheese, the lobster.
One other question I have for you: your name Cecelia is so pretty.
Thank you. I hated it when I was coming up. Oh my gosh. Because it was so different. And it actually came from my mother's neighbor growing up. She named her child or grandchild, something like that, was named Cecelia. And my mother fell in love with the name. And she just said as a young girl, if I have a daughter, I'm going to name her Cecelia. And I love it now. And people, call me Cecelia or they call me Cece. But as a kid, it was just torturous because people just, for whatever reason, couldn't pronounce it right. And they still don't spell it right to this day. But I'm just I don't care.
That's why I just tell people, call me Yaya, because
yeah.
Or Fifi.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, Cecelia, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, your energy.
Absolutely.
Such wonderful advice for the young people out here. You are the epitome of what we are wanting to do for the youth as well too. Just making sure that people are out here know that women, we are doing the most in the sports world as well too. And it should be shown and celebrated. We're all about women, empowering women. So here we are.
Yay. Thank you, ladies, so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we can talk. Hey!
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
This was so much fun.